Let's talk about a major topic that I know you had to be at the center of. It happened right around the same time as SummerSlam, where there is a new policy pushed out to the talent, and it's called a business casual dress code. The idea is wrestlers and other WWE personnel are now required to wear dress shoes, slacks, and a dress shirt to the matches every night. Coat and tie is optional. And it's reported in the Torch that management's goal here is to enhance the image of WWE to the outside world. They don't want wrestlers showing up to the arenas in tracksuits and flip flops and worn out t shirts. And one wrestler was quoted to Wade as saying, "It had gotten pretty bad." And others would say that it's a minor inconvenience. Yes, it's less comfortable on flights and a hassle when changing after workouts at the gym, but it's just not a big deal. And someone from the office said, "Well, the wrestlers making a big deal out of this are just plain silly for guys who are making a lot of money." But I guess there was a talent meeting right before SummerSlam at that Monday Night Raw where Edge and Chris Jericho and Molly Holly, they're all pretty outspoken. And it's Jericho's even described as being a bit crabby, saying that WWE is taking away their individuality. And he's asking, is Steve Austin going to be required to do the dress code? Because he wrestles in jean shorts and he makes appearances in jean shorts. Is he still allowed to wear that? I know you're in the middle of this. What do you remember about this often discussed dress code from the WWE?
We're just trying to clean up the image, so those guys look successful. Why do you think back in the day that pro wrestlers in the territory era drove big cars? They did it for two reasons: because most of their trips were by land, so those bigger cars, a Cadillac or a Lincoln, so forth, boded them well in their travel. It also spoke of their success. If you're at an arena and you see one of the stars pull up in a caddy, all of a sudden that guy must be doing really well. Success is evident. I think there's a lot to be said about that analogy as well. So I didn't ever have a problem with it because guys they went too crazy on their flip flops and their Zubaz pants and their Gold's Gym T-shirts. They didn't look special. They didn't look successful, and I think that's kind of where we were going to go, is to upgrade the image of the talent and increase their value. Increasing their value is a good thing. It's just change is always perceived this way, Conrad, as you know, in your business and so forth. When you have major changes, sometimes people react positively to those changes that are being involved, and sometimes they just move on because all it is I'm packing something different. I'm packing a pair of dress shoes, and if your feet hurt on the plane, take your shoes off. I don't know what to tell you. It's not a big deal, but guys, because it's change, made a big deal out of it. Some of them, and they could bitch and moan all they wanted, but it was never going to change. This is something Vince was committed to. Vince was a meticulous dresser, and nobody's asking you to dress like Vince with all custom-made clothing. But buying a pair of slacks, I've had wives come up to me and say, "I'm so glad you guys changed that, because it just makes my husband look more successful. The more successful he is perceived, the better off we'll all be."
Edge is speaking out in this meeting saying, "Hey, if us wearing these clothes makes us look minor league and it's bad image wise for fans to see us like that, isn't it also bad image wise that we're supposed to be these WWE superstars, but we're sitting in coach? Famous actors and pro athletes, they don't ride in coach, they're in first class." And Molly Holly would say, "Hey, we also look minor league when we're showing up to packed arenas, 4 or 5 in a compact rental car." Of course, none of that really goes anywhere. I know that they were aiming for more first class travel accommodations, but there's a theory. And again, this is sour grapes, I'm sure. Here's what's written in the Torch. There were some thoughts expressed in some circles of the locker room that since Triple H has been dressing up to sell the image of Evolution, inspired by Ric Flair dressing up for decades to sell that high class image to fans who saw him outside the ring, he wanted everyone else to do the same. Boy, this whole Reign of Terror thing,
It had nothing. It had nothing to do with Triple H.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with it. It's convenient. It makes a nice argument, I guess, if that's the case. That may be oxymoronic to talk about a nice argument. Uh, it's just to make the guys look better, look successful. That Cadillac illustration really fits this whole bullshit. Uh, look successful, be perceived as successful, and your career will be better off. You have more value. And why wouldn't you want to have more value in your daily uh, pursuit? These guys, remember, on the road almost every day. So it wasn't like, this is, now you see guys come to pay-per-views and they're dressed accordingly. Some will, I can guarantee you at All In, some guys will show up to work with a coat and tie.
Yes.
Not that they're told to, but they want to be perceived as a revenue generating pro athlete. And I think it's interesting to me. I get a kick out of watching the NFL and seeing the talents or the players, I should say, show up with their fine duds on, their Louis Vuittons and all these things. And I get it that they make more money than most of the wrestlers. I get that. Not all of them, but most of them. So I just, it was all for the talent's good. But again, you're talking about a change. We're talking about change. So you know what I'm saying?
Practice. That was
Yeah.
your best Allen Iverson there.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about Johnny Ace, because I think by this point, John Laurinaitis was heading up talent relations, and this is going to be one of his first major policies, the dress code thing. Looking back, I know that ultimately these are all decisions from Vince, but do you think that in an alternate universe, you would have passed down that same policy? I mean, would you have argued for the policy or against the policy if you were running talent relations at the moment?
I'm for it.
Yeah.
I was for it. And I, maybe how it was presented was a little bit quick on the draw, but at the end of the day and the big picture, I was all for it. It's a matter of buying a pair of shoes and a pair of fucking slacks, Conrad, and buying a dress shirt. Wives, as I said earlier, wives loved it because they could go shopping and get their husband out of Gold's Gym shirts and Zubaz. You ever wear Zubaz, Conrad?
No, as a kid, yeah, but as an adult, no. But I do have friends who rock them every chance they get, and
That's right.
the result is a lot of wrestlers get fined. 7 wrestlers get fined almost immediately. Devon Dudley and Rey Mysterio are amongst them. I guess it's a $500 fine for the first offense, a $1,000 fine for the second offense, and you're going to be suspended after a third offense
Without pay.
Yes.
Without pay. That gets everybody's attention. You hate to go to that depth to try to get some cooperation from everybody until they understand why you're doing it. You're not doing it to be a prick. You're not doing it to appease the wise who like to shop. You're doing it because it upgrades and makes your product look a little shinier, a little bit more positive. And anything that we could do to enhance the perception of the stars is, to me, a good thing. So it just was, again, a change. The error of our ways may have been that we rushed into it too quickly. We shouldn't have had anybody getting fined that soon after the mandate of the change in the attire. Just not that big a deal. I'm sure there's some folks out there listening that didn't live through that era that are saying to themselves, "Are you shitting me? All this trouble and these fines and this discord over dress shoes, slacks, and a shirt. Really? That's where we are?" So there's so many more important things to associate yourself with other than worrying about my attire. So it was funny in the beginning because guys were not used to dressing that way, and they might have sent their wives or girlfriends out to shop for them, and they come back with shirts that would fit Andre. Just I don't know, just silly to me. It's absolutely stupid. It shows the immaturity of a lot of guys.
We know that eventually it becomes a whole issue with a lot of talent. And Johnny Ace is also saying that now there's going to be a $250 fine for being late. So we're trying to rule with maybe a more iron fist about the way our guys are presenting themselves and they're showing up on time. And I know that those seem like no brainers, but I think there's some frustration amongst the talent that, hey, payoffs are down, crowds are down, houses are down, fans aren't as in tune with our creative as they once were. And you're more concerned about what kind of shoes I'm wearing. Like I could see why they might be frustrated with that. Could you?
Oh yeah, kind of, but you know, you it just work through it. You know, buy your new shoes, buy your slacks. Try to be the best dressed guy in the locker room. Be competitive about it. And some guys are mature and competitive, and some guys are just crybabies. And there's no case for you. You're going to lose the judge's verdict on this deal because this is what Vince wanted. He was very serious about this deal, and I don't blame him on this one here. I wholeheartedly agree that again to upgrade it. But Conrad, as I said, all you're trying to do is enhance the image of one of your people, make them look more successful, make them look like they're riding a Cadillac and they own a Cadillac or two. They went through that whole thing with Rolex watches. So, you know, Rolex is a mark of wealth and success. Ric Flair made promos about his watch for years, and it seemed to
Yeah.
work for him.